Madam Clerk, can we get roll call, please?
Certainly, Mayor. Councilmember Bradley.
No.
Forgive me. Councilmember Bradley.
Oh, yes, I didn't hear you.
Forgive me. Councilmember Ferraro.
Yes, here.
Councilmember Lewis.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristamp.
Here.
Mayor Seo.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor. Our next item then is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Can I please ask the city manager to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Your Honor,
Thank you.
rise. Place your right hand over your heart and begin.
Our,
Spirited than usual. Yes.
That's very much so.
I think they were.
our next item is the closed session report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen, in person and viewing us virtually. The City Council met in closed session to talk about one matter of pending litigation. The title of this litigation is People of the State of California versus Kavanaugh, Los Angeles County Superior Court, case number 25-TRCV01056. The City Attorney's Office provided counsel with a privileged and confidential briefing. Questions were asked and answered, and the City Council unanimously directed the City Attorney's Office in consultation with the City Manager to open negotiations with the receiver for possible acquisition of the property which is the subject of this litigation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is the mayor's announcements.
All right. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? Good. Thank you very much for being here. Tonight, the City Council is pleased to welcome students from Mirror Est and Ridgecrest Intermediate School who participated in the 2026 Whale of a Day poster contest. Now, we'd also like to extend our appreciation to dedicated volunteers from Los Serenos, whose continued support helps make this possible. And at this time, I would like to invite Simi Soto, our recreation coordinator and event organizer of Whale of a Day, to come forward to introduce the Los Serenos presenters who will be recognizing this year's honorees. Good evening.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'd like to take this moment to introduce the chair and co-chair of our poster contest for Whale of a Day, Martin and Deborah Lopez.
Come on down.
Thank you, Simi. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. We at Los Serenos de Puente Vicente are pleased to coordinate the annual intermediate school poster contest in conjunction with the Whale of the Day celebration. And as you already mentioned, we do have students from Mirror Est and Ridgecrest who have submitted their entries. We have 5 students from each school in the top 10. So I think that's a pretty good balance. So I just want to mention that there is a slideshow that is automatically progressing forward. It displays the top 10, the honorable mentions, the top 3, and then it goes blast from the past, and it's cycling through the winners of the contest since 2007. So enjoying seeing that while I proceed with the presentations. At this time, I would like to invite the top 3 winners to come forward. They'll be given the opportunity to describe their artwork. So we have Maya Keene, the first place winner. So, step forward to the front and go ahead and explain your artwork.
Hold on. Do we have a mic for her?
Can you turn your poster around and just let us see it for a minute? Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah, our guy's gonna get you a mic. Give him
Yeah.
1 second, okay?
Yeah.
That way you can explain your poster. All right, there we
You
go.
should talk to the audience, but
Here,
we
come,
just-
come up to the front, come up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way everybody can see you and turn around.
and then
Yeah,
turn around.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was inspired to do this. Whenever I go to Hawaii, I love to snorkel. So I always see like I always see the sea life, and that's what inspired me. And this like speckled effect on the watercolor, I put salt, and that's what created the speckled effect. I added bubbles to the whale, and then I did the PV lighthouse at the top.
All right. Hold on, why don't we stay up here? That way we can get everybody in a picture later, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, come back up here.
No, stay up here.
Yeah, stay up here.
We'll get
You gotta
everybody
show your
up,
poster.
one by one, and then we'll have a group photo. So, so next we have the second place winner, Ethan Harold.
So my painting represents that what's on the top of the surface doesn't always represent what's going to be on the bottom. So up here is really stormy, and then below the surface is all bright and colorful. And then I use watercolor for most of it, and then some of the details is with acrylic marker. And I also use alcohol for the water and salt for some of the details.
All right.
Okay, now our, the third place winner, Theodore Greenfather.
So I used alcohol, salt, and acrylic marker for the sky, which I spent more than half my time doing because I wanted to make my sky look the best. I did the PV lighthouse in the background to resemble this area. And also, I used more salt and alcohol on the ocean and a lot of acrylic marker because I thought that would look good with watercolor.
All right, awesome.
Are we gonna?
Yeah, we will. I think once
So
you
the
finish-
students are not only good artists, but future public speakers. They've done, well done on your descriptions. Next, with my co-chair, Deb Lopez, we'd like to present certificates to all of the students. And I will call your name one by one, and then Deb will present the certificates.
I'm just gonna give it to
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Before we do that, just one administrative thing. Is Claire Lee here yet? Okay, so we have one student that, in the top 10 that was not able to make it, apparently. So, okay, so we'll actually start with the top three there. So Deb, you can go to the front. Yeah, you can present it to them. So as I call your name, go ahead and step forward, and then Deb will present you with the certificate. So again, in the first place, Maya Keene.
All right. Good job, Maya.
Okay, second place, Ethan Harold. And third place, Theodore Greenfather. Okay, so why don't I invite all of the rest of the contestants, the honorable mentions, to come forward, and then we'll do the same thing here, call your name one by one, and you can step forward to receive your certificate.
Help? Do you need help? You okay? Yeah. We'll go up now.
Come on.
Yeah, and after we do this, the certificates, there will be a picture taken with the mayor and the city council.
And of course, show off your posters. I think the council and the public want to see your artwork.
Okay, so in alphabetical order, the 7 honorable mentions, Ian Bay, can step forward there, please. You can go ahead and step to the side until we're ready for picture taken. And then Eshal Jelani. Both of these students are from Ridgecrest. And Misa Komine from Merrill Est. And as I mentioned, unfortunately, Claire Lee is not here. Anna Lukasheva from Ridgecrest. Corel Naret from Ridgecrest. And then finally, Melanie Witzerman from Merrill Est. Okay, so congratulations to all of you. And does oh, okay.
Two politicians fighting over the mic, you know, what's new?
Let me go ahead and say the thank yous, and then we can, you can all gather up for the photos. So in closing, we want to thank all of the 39 students who participated. We want to thank their parents for supporting them, and their art teachers for encouraging and guiding them through the process. The teachers who are not here this evening, from Merrill Est is Rebecca Hagen, from Ridgecrest is Caitlin Buda, and Sabrina Frigoso. So thank you very much to all of you. At this time, back over to Mayor and the City Council and for group photos.
So I just wanted to say a few words as a graduate of Ridgecrest and father of 2 sons that graduated from Merrill Est. It's always great when I see our intermediate school kids compete in something like this, and the art is absolutely fantastic. So congratulations for what you did. Thank you very much for putting yourselves out there in this competition, and congratulations on getting in the top 10 and the 1, 2, and 3 winners as well. I can't wait to see Whale of a Day this year and see these on a t-shirt.
I echo all that, and my boys are Marauders too, so it's great to see so many Marauders up here. And I just think the art across the board is just so good. I mean, there's no drop-off here. It's so close from the top to through all the honorable mentions. Everybody did a great job. Congratulations to you all.
Yeah, so this is the best part of my job. We get to you know, recognize you guys for this amazing artwork that you did. I think if we did it, it'd be complete chicken scratch. It'd be chicken scratch. It'd be terrible. I think somebody using their feet would probably do better than us. But
It was just when they said that they were using alcohol in it. I could handle that.
he would drink. Yeah, he would do other things with alcohol.
Mom, I was getting a little concerned about the alcohol comment.
Well, you're talking alcohol and salt. You can make a margarita.
It's true. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Celebrate with milk and apple juice for you guys. But no, definitely not. But just want to say you guys did an amazing job, and you guys are representing the city. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your works going forward. And after we speak, just for the parents, if we can have the parents come up once we finish speaking, I'd love to have you guys in the photo as well.
Well, I'm going to throw in a thank you for my husband. He did a lot of organizing on some of this. So thanks, honey.
So I would make one final announcement. So after we have the group pictures, you know, with the parents, we are welcome to exit the chamber so that mayor and the city council can carry on with the business of the city. That
Yes.
wasn't in our contract.
You sure you don't want to stay with us?
So we're retired, so.
Well, I think you kids did a wonderful job, and I don't know how she finally made her decision, because the top three are just really great, and the rest of you did so beautifully. So it's always good to participate, whether you win or lose, because you always get something out of it. And these are just marvelous. I'm going to let the Mayor Pro Tem say something.
Thank you. Also, congratulations to everyone. I'm also the father of 3 Marauders. And so at one point in time, I viewed this from a very different lens as a participant. I don't think any of them really made it this far. But that's actually the best part of this. It's every year event. It's always fresh and renewed and exciting, and it feels just like tonight. So thanks again, and congratulations.
Yeah, I had 2 Marauders, and then I had grandchildren who were Marauders, so.
Am I the only one that was a Raider?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, the three in the middle,
Dan,
come on.
the posters will be displayed
1, 2, 3 in the
at the
middle.
Whale of a Day. Yeah.
And then,
Yes. And I just want, while you're getting ready for your photo, the posters will be displayed at Whale of a Day on April 11th.
All right. Good cheese.
Look at all those proud parents.
All right.
Okay, now all the parents come
Please, come on down.
for a giant.
We'll take the photo. Come on, proud parents.
Don't be shy.
Mr.
Yeah, don't be shy, guys. Come on down.
And by your child. Oh, no. Dan, wide lens. Jeffrey's covering you. From the looks of it, we know why everyone's here. This is our audience, really.
All right, here we go. Ready?
You gotta back up some.
1, 2.
He's got an iPhone.
Here you go.
See you all at Whale of a Day on April 11th.
For a whale of a good time.
April 11th.
So we're gonna collect the posters so we can tear it up on Whale of the Day.
I know.
Well, all of the students did a great job.
Thanks for coming, guys. Okay, Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Our next item is by acclamation to move approval of recycle and emergency personal preparedness kit drawing winners Sherry Johnson and David Fuji.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Next item.
Item is the approval of the agenda.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Move.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Councilmember Bradley,
Yes.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristam?
Yes.
Mayor Seo? Yes. Motion passes. With that, we can move to our public comments for non-agenda items, and I do have 2 requests to speak. Our first speaker this evening is Michael Schnabel.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Michael Schnabel, and I'm a senior at Chadwick School. I've grown up surfing and spearfishing along the Palos Verdes coastline, and I've spent much of my life in the water here. Tonight, I'm asking the council to take 3 practical steps to begin protecting and restoring the kelp forest off of our coastline. First, directing city staff to explore partnerships with organizations already restoring kelp forests locally, such as the Bay Foundation. Second, consider setting aside a modest pilot allocation in a future budget cycle to support kelp forest restoration and ecosystem resilience. And third, positioning Rancho Palos Verdes to pursue outside funding by supporting grant applications through state, coastal, and ocean resilience programs. I'm asking for this because I've watched our kelp forests disappear in real time. Kelp forests off the Palos Verdes Peninsula have declined by more than 80% in the last century. The collapse of key predators allowed purple sea urchins to explode in number, turning thriving reefs into what scientists call urchin barrens. Kelp forests help support the entire coastal food web. Their loss affects everything from suppressing detrimental red algae blooms, providing sanctuary to reef fish, and producing the plankton that larger species depend on. I understand that the council has many responsibilities and priorities competing for attention, but to that, I ask you, how will I explain to my children and grandchildren that whales no longer migrate past the South Bay the way they once did because of the loss of kelp forests? How will I explain why the kelp that protected our coastline from storms and erosions were allowed to disappear? Or why the vibrant coastline I grew up surfing and exploring underwater now looks like a barren wasteland? How will I explain that we knew what was happening to our kelp forests and still chose to focus on other things? The important thing is that restoration works. Organizations like the Bay Foundation have spent over a decade restoring reefs around the Palos Verdes coastline by reducing urchin densities and allowing kelp to recover naturally. In several coves, kelp forests that were once gone have now returned and remained healthy for nearly a decade. The science is there and the methods are proven. But marine protected areas alone, such as Abalone Cove, are not enough. Even in protected coves, purple sea urchin populations will continue to explode unless hands-on restoration continues. Without intervention, the barrens will spread. I also took the time to look through the city's budget documents, yet I could not find any funding specifically dedicated to ocean ecosystem restoration. That surprised me, because the very reason this community is able to generate so much value is in our coastline. People choose to live here, and the property values remain high because of the beauty and health of this ocean environment. Rancho Palos Verdes has an opportunity to lead. No city in California has truly stepped forward to pioneer local investment in kelp restoration yet. By exploring partnerships, supporting grant funding, and committing even modest resources to restoration, this city could become the first coastal community to take meaningful action. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Question?
Hey, Michael.
What eats purple urchins?
So purple sea urchins are a type of sea urchin, and they're actually native to the California coastline. But as I stated, certain environmental causes have eliminated their predators, the sunflower sea star in particular, which usually would feed on the purple sea urchins. So the loss of those predators has created a huge explosion in these purple sea urchin densities, and purple sea urchins feed off of the kelp forests. So
It's the sea star and others.
Pardon?
It's the sea star and others? Other ones?
Well, there are California sheephead, which are harvested off the coastline, but the primary predator for the purple sea urchins were the sunflower sea star. They were the ones that would eat the purple sea urchins, and some of them are considered locally extinct now on certain parts of the California coastline.
Okay, thank you.
Is it possible at all to insert them into the area?
Yeah, that has been tried, and I've actually spoken with representatives from the Bay Foundation exploring those options. In some areas it's possible, but an issue with the sunflower sea star is a disease that was hurting their numbers, and as well as ocean warming events. There was an event in 2014 known as the warm blob that came on the Pacific coast here, and it made the ocean water too warm for them to survive with a mix of the disease that they were experiencing, and you will hardly find any of them here anymore. So that is why the purple sea urchins have become such an issue, even though they are native to the California coastline.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you guys so
Michael.
much.
For coming.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Kurt Schasker, and staff has been trying to reach him, but so far he's not logged back into Zoom.
Move on. Yeah, if he pops up on Zoom, we'll have him, but we can move on at this time.
Our next item then is the LOMITA Station Report with Deputy Clotworthy.
Deputy Clotworthy, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to briefly report on some traffic statistics overview, Part 1 crime, Part 2 crimes, trends, and then share a few updates from our community. All right, should I begin again? Yes. Okay, yes. Very good. Tonight I'm going to present on some of our traffic statistics overviews, Part 1 crimes, Part 2 crimes, statistics, the trends that we've been seeing in regards to those, and share some updates on what our community relations team has been doing in the last few weeks. So our latest analysis shows a small drop in overall traffic collisions. There have been no fatal collisions compared to previous years. To address residents' concerns about traffic safety, we've put together strong safety measures in important areas, and as a result, there's been a noticeable increase in hazardous and parking citations. Our traffic units and motor deputies have been more proactive in enforcing the law, which has led to more citations being issued. This approach has helped reduce collisions. We're committed to making the roads safer for the community. Part 1 crimes, this is for the fourth quarter for the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. Homicide incidents, rape incidents, I have 0 to report. Robberies, there's only been 1 robbery reported during the fourth quarter, which is fewer than last year. The case involved a mother and a son, and the son was later arrested for assaulting his sister. He's now in custody. Obviously, this is a domestic incident. Assaults, there were 10 assaults in the fourth quarter, up from 8 last year. 9 of these, however, were domestic related and 6 arrests were made. For the remaining 4 incidents, we've successfully identified the suspects and are actively pursuing those cases. Residential burglaries. Rancho Palos Verdes experienced only 13 residential burglaries this quarter. This is a huge decrease from the previous year. We've had 2 suspects apprehended, and 5 of those incidents had workable leads. We had a couple of operations focusing on undercover surveillance of targeted areas and on saturation patrols on specific days that we identified having the highest rate of occurrence. Most of the burglaries occurred during the PM shift, and it's due to this analyzation of these trends and the steps that we've taken to address the issues that we believe that the decrease has occurred. Vehicle burglaries, there have been 15 vehicle burglaries reported, which is an increase. This increase is happening across the county. And to address it, we will start focusing patrols along Western Avenue and PV Drive South, where most of these crimes have occurred. Theft from vehicle. There was a slight increase in theft from vehicle, and our community relations team and social media deputies continued to remind the public about ways to protect their vehicles and belongings. Many of these thefts happened because vehicles were simply left unlocked. Larceny, theft in general. There's been no change in the numbers of larceny theft reported compared to previous years. There were 30 incidents involving theft from residences, unlocked vehicles, businesses, or vehicle parts. Grand theft auto, there was 8 incidents reported. This is fewer than in previous years. Arson, there was only 1 incident reported at the 6,000 block of Ironwood Lane. The suspect was arrested. Part 2 crimes, our data shows a significant 19% increase in Part 2 crimes compared to last year. Forgery has emerged as the most frequently reported incident, and we attribute this to numerous incidents of check washing reported with an indication of a nexus to the post office. The postal inspector is investigating the crime, and there may be an organized group of individuals involved. Arrests made in quarter 4. We had 14 Part 1 and 26 Part 2, total of 40 arrests. This is an 18% increase in arrests from last year, which is due to proactive policing, bail reform, and targeted efforts to address those residential burglary concerns. We're pleased to report an overall decrease of 12% in Part 1 crimes compared to the previous quarter, showing our effective strategies in crime prevention. Property crimes have seen remarkable reductions, with burglaries dropping by an impressive 60% and incidents of motor vehicle theft decreasing by 12%. And those outcomes reflect our proactive efforts to enhance community safety and security. Our response times are still well below our department standards. For our community relations team, on the 5th, we met with Rancho Palos Verdes staff regarding the planning and coordination of next year's Run for Miles event. On the 7th, we attended Rolling Hills Riviera HOA, their annual donuts and coffee block party, which is always fun every year. Very welcoming community there. On the 10th, we attended Soleado Elementary School's one of their 2 annual emergency preparedness drills. It was a shelter in place. We assessed the situation and provided feedback to the staff. Also on the 10th, we met with your staff here regarding plans for equine evacuation in the event of a catastrophe along Palos Verdes Drive South, specifically the Portuguese Bend Community Association neighborhood. On the 11th, we again met with staff to collaborate with them on how the plans for our own future Youth Advisory Committee might interact with their present Youth Advisory Committee. We recently established a partnership with the Special Olympics of Southern California to host a Tip-A-Cop fundraiser happening April 21st, 2026 at the Islands Restaurant in Torrance. All proceeds will go to support the sports, education, health, and leadership programs of the athletes. And we've been in the process of planning and organizing a civilian academy hosted every Wednesday starting in April on the 1st. An application period is open for those interested in participating in this free opportunity, offering insights into law enforcement operations, investigation procedures, a tour of our station and jail facilities, and a chance to learn from various department experts. I have one final incident of note that I'd like to share with you all, just to highlight the important work that your deputies are doing at all hours of the day, any day of the week. Just a few hours before this very incident, deputies responded to a call for service. It was a theft now call at Ridgecrest Intermediate School. It was believed that a man had found his way onto the campus and had stolen a computer. Deputies contained the area. They located and apprehended the suspect nearby at High Ridge Park. It was later determined that no theft had occurred. This was a simple case of miscommunication and telephone from the various informants that we had received at the time. But the man was still taken into custody. He was arrested for trespassing on school grounds during school hours. That's all I have to share for you guys tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have if it's within my ability to answer.
Thank you. Any questions from City Council? No? Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Just one question. Not that it's not important, but if you take that fraud statistic out of the other type 2 crimes, what would be the relationship between last year and this year?
Couldn't tell you. I'm sure it'd probably be the same, but I can't tell you because I haven't taken that out.
Okay, all right,
Sorry.
thank you. It's okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Cloudworthy. Appreciate it.
You got it.
All right, next item, please.
Is the city manager's report.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council and our viewing audience. I want to thank Deputy Clotworthy for coming in this evening and giving us that report, and also to say thank you for, I was notified earlier this afternoon regarding that incident at Ridgecrest, and so I appreciate that, and knowing that you were able to apprehend the suspect and resolve that. So I'd like to start tonight's city manager's report with the obvious that we're all wearing green, and today's St. Patrick's Day, so I wanted to wish everyone a very happy St. Patrick's Day. And of course, according to Mr.
Our
Ferraro,
deputy's wearing it every day.
Yeah, yes, yes. He doesn't count.
Of course he counts.
He's always in green.
What do you mean he doesn't count?
But according to Mr. Ferraro, we are supposed to call Councilmember Barbara Ferraro O. Ferrar today. So
Today.
Just today. So make that note. Next slide. So it's that time of the year. We are, all of our 6 commission and committees, some of the members are nearing the end of their term serving the city on the various committees and planning commission that we have. And so we're in the process of recruiting any new members who are interested in volunteering for the city and to give back to their community. So if you're interested in being a committee member on one of our 6 advisory boards, we have the Civic Center Advisory Committee, the Emergency Preparedness Committee, the Finance Advisory Committee, the Infrastructure Management Committee, Planning Commission, and Traffic Safety Committee. We need volunteers, and so you can fill out an application going on to the city's website, and we're accepting applications April 27th. And the council will be interviewing the prospective candidates at their special meeting on Saturday, May 9th. So mark your calendars. Next slide. And as the mayor indicated at the last city council meeting, we have launched round 4 of the Western Avenue storefront improvement program. We are accepting applications through April 30th. This is a great opportunity for our businesses along Western Avenue to get some grant dollars from the city to do some improvements to their storefront. It's all in the spirit of revitalizing and enhancing our marketing and branding of the Western Avenue commercial corridor. The grant amounts are between $5,000 and $20,000, and of course there is a 50% matching program. So those applications are due by April 30th, and we will decide who are the lucky winners of this grant opportunity. Next slide. And this Friday is our second Coffee with the Mayor. It will be held at Ladera Linda at 10 a.m. on Friday, March 20th. So if you want to have a casual conversation with the mayor with some cappuccino, or well, actually coffee from a traveler case, but come join the, I don't want to mislead the public and come out thinking they're going to have espressos and cappuccinos. That's not going to happen. So, but we will have coffee and great conversation with the mayor.
Me out there.
Yeah, and we won't run out of mugs this time around, so we'll have enough.
Yeah, maybe some other treats. Next slide. And as you know from earlier today, we did the poster contest for Whale of a Day, but you probably heard me a couple times plugging Whale of a Day is actually Saturday, April 11th. It's our 41st celebration of this great family fun event. We have crafts, music, shopping, food, all sorts of entertainment. So please come out. It's a really great day. It's at the Interpretive Center, and it starts at 10 a.m. and it goes through 4 p.m. And I know it's always a lot of fun, and we'll have all of our comments and speeches and all that around 11:30. So please come out and support Whale of a Day. And of course,
it's a whale of a good time.
It is a whale of a good time, yes. And we are in the process of our Whale of a Day bookmark contest. So there's another art contest for our students in TK through 5th grade, and those submittals are due by March 22nd, which is this Sunday. So we can't wait to see all those artistic submittals for the bookmarker contest. Next slide.
You know, Mr. City Manager, the kids that did the examples and the posters that we saw tonight were just amazing.
They always are. They always, they raise the bar every year. Lots of art talent, and the way they describe their artwork as well. There's a lot of intent and purpose behind how they.
Yeah, they really put themselves into to each one.
Such as the one student who said he wanted the sky more dark and the ocean more calm and lighter blue. So. And of course, it's that time of the year for spring yard cleaning. We partner with EDCO twice a year to provide this opportunity for residents to do their yard trimmings and trim those trees, get ready for a brush clearance because you know the fire department comes around and inspects properties. So it's an opportunity for you to bundle all your yard trimmings and put it out on the curb. It begins, it's every consecutive Saturday beginning March 28th, and it depends on your collection day. So if your collection day is Monday, you will start the brush clearing event with pickup on Saturday, March 28th, and every subsequent Saturday, depending on your collection day. Next slide. And in case you're wondering why helicopters are hovering over the Civic Center today and will be for the next couple days through Thursday, the LA County Fire Department's doing an actual drill and rehearsal testing and training at the Civic Center, so you will be seeing helicopters flying all back and forth. We're hearing it at City Hall, so those buildings are rumbling because of the helicopters. So in case you're wondering, it's a training exercise. Next slide. And I say this every so often, and I just want to raise awareness and let people know that the city actually has an app. We've had an app for 3 years. It's an excellent way to access City Hall on your device. You can download it on your Apple device or your Android. It provides all this information. You get the weekly reports. You can submit a service request through the app. We've got the coyote dashboard where you can actually, if you see a coyote, you can report it using the app, which will use the GPS points where you're at and actually tell us where that coyote is without you having to identify the location. So I strongly recommend residents download that app. I say that all the time. If anyone in the audience doesn't have the app, download it before you leave this evening. It's worthwhile and it's free. And you could also report graffiti as well. And last slide. And for those who celebrate, I just want to wish everyone a happy Nowruz for Persian New Year. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Our next item is the consent calendar. Late correspondence was distributed earlier this evening for items letter H and L, and I do not have any requests to speak.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradley,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristam,
Yes.
Mayor Sale.
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, we can move to our regular, our public hearing, item number 1.
Thank you. Let's move on to our item here. I'll declare the public hearing open for this item. Staff report, please.
Consider conducting the 2025 Green Hills Memorial Park Conditional Use Permit Compliance Review. Notice of the public hearing was duly published, and I only have one request to speak.
Thank you.
And I'm going to turn it over to Senior Planner Amy Serrati for the presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As the city clerk stated, the item before you this evening is the annual compliance review for Green Hills Memorial Park. It is required to be completed on an annual basis. As you can see here, this is the overall site plan for Green Hills Memorial Park located along Western Avenue. There are several different areas of the site, and they are numbered here. There are several action items that Green Hills is supposed to comply with on an annual basis. Some examples of these are that their development applications followed appropriate protocol. They did submit 2 grading permit applications, one for Area 6 and one for Area 2. Neither have been approved yet. They're in process. The Neighborhood Advisory Committee did meet in July of 2025. And then Green Hills also did submit the required permit documentation from various agencies, such as the fire department, state board, et cetera. There are several operational requirements that Green Hills does need to comply with. And they did state they do still have security patrol the site, have a live person available via phone daily, as well as they monitor event volume levels. Construction, they are supposed to keep all their construction sites properly maintained, watered down with a water truck, et cetera. And there are certain hours of operations, and these vary depending on where on the property the construction is occurring. And those hours are more limited near the residential properties that abut the site. Staff did receive a concern from a resident regarding the maintenance between Green Hills southern block wall and the rear yard fences. Staff did relay this concern to Green Hills staff, who started trimming the foliage a few days later. And then the resident did email staff back on March 10th, basically when this staff report was being distributed, stating that the work was done expeditiously and that they appreciated it. So all that is to say, staff does believe that Green Hills Memorial Park was essentially in compliance with conditional use permit number 155 in 2025. Thank you, and Nick Resich from Green Hills Memorial Park is here tonight if the council does have any questions. Thanks again.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions? Yes, Councilmember Bradley.
Thanks. Amy, on that back property where the foliage was, I know at one point that was a challenge for drainage back there. Has that been also corrected? I know there had been some foliage there, then the drainage got backed up. Is that all taken care of there as well?
I may let Mr. Resich from Green Hills address that. I have not heard of any complaints or concerns from the residents on that street regarding that, so I'm assuming it has been resolved, but I will let the representative speak to that.
Come on up, Nick. Good to see you, by the way.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Hey,
I
Nick, pull
appreciate
the
you
mic
guys' support.
closer. Yeah, just so we can, there you go.
Always wonderful to be in front of you guys, and thank you for your time.
No, it's on. There you go. Just get closer.
Okay.
Or, yeah, pull it towards you.
Again, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll speak directly to the concern. We do have a stormwater pollution prevention map that we take very seriously. We have site surveys from the city that actually come out. These are done before rain events, during rain events, and after rain events. We're in compliance with not only our private party that does the inspections, but also the city inspectors.
But that was the area that had some drainage issues too, isn't it? Or am I getting confused with this and the other?
So we have the top area that's, we had construction, and we had the bottom road that we have storm drains on that we also take care of, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. That was it.
Any other questions? No? Nick, do you want to stay up and say a couple words before you sit back down?
You're going to put me on the spot. I appreciate you guys all the time that you've put into not only Green Hills, but the city. Following Whale of a Day is quite an event. It's really special to watch these kids and the time they put into everything. But you guys have done everything to make the city better, not only with us, with the landslide. So we really appreciate everything that you've done.
All right, thanks, Nick. Any other questions of Nick? No?
I'd just like to say we appreciate the fact that there are no problems there.
Yeah.
You know, for a while, maybe there was something here or there, but you know, you cleaned up everything, and you do such a great job now with, you know, sometimes it's a difficult place.
We appreciate that. Our leadership team has really tried to take the proactive approach to take on issues if they do arise and make sure we take care of them, not only for the city, but for our neighbors. It's a very important relationship.
You do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll declare the hearing closed. Council deliberation. Anybody want to speak?
Make a statement.
Yes, please.
So I'd like to just follow on to Councilwoman Ferraro's statement. I've been involved with Green Hills for many years. It has not always been this congenial. So I appreciate, and I continue to say this, the leadership at Green Hills and the way that they've leaned into working with the city as a partner, taking care of the local residents that surround the park. It's really heartfelt, that appreciation for what the management team has done. Several years ago, we had some issues when I was on the Planning Commission with residents in the community, and I love the fact that we are much more congenial today. So please extend our appreciation once again, Nick, to the current management structure, or management team, and the way you guys are proactively taking care of the community. Thank you.
Yeah. Ditto.
Thanks, Nick. Quiet is good. MPT, nothing?
If
Okay.
you want to close the public hearing.
I already did, yeah. So can I get a motion, please?
Move approval of the staff recommendation.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes?
Councilmember Bradley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristam,
Yes.
Mayor Seo.
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, we
All
can move to our regular business item number 2. Consider receiving the results of the Community Needs Survey and awarding a contract to the Lou Edwards Group, LEG, for ballot measure outreach and strategic communications. Late correspondence was distributed earlier this evening, and I have no request to speak.
All right, thank you. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Next slide, please, Nathan. Tonight, we'll be receiving and filing the results of the Community Needs Survey as presented by our consultant, FM3. And then secondly, on a separate topic, we'll award an agreement to, or we propose to award an agreement to the Lou Edwards Group for ballot measure outreach and strategic communications for $20,000 with a total not to exceed amount of $60,000 for additional services if needed. So in June 2025, Council added a new fiscal sustainability goal to identify revenue-generating opportunities to help maintain the high quality of city services and programs. As part of this effort, Council asked the Finance Advisory Committee to review various revenue sources and forward them to Council for consideration. Ultimately, one of their recommendations was that all revenue sources should be reviewed, particularly an increase to the transient occupancy tax. City also formed the Fiscal Sustainability Subcommittee, which is comprised of council members Peristam and Lewis and Bradley, to provide staff with feedback and guidance throughout this process. So as part of this effort, City hired FM3 to conduct 1 to 2 statistically significant surveys. And in February 2026, the city implemented 1 survey to gather data on resident satisfaction with city programs and services and to identify the most critical areas for improvement as well as investment. The survey also helped determine whether 2 hypothetical revenue tax measures could be supported, and they were on the topics of TOT and golf tax, and considered by voters during the November general elections. And so I'm sure everyone's interested in the survey results, and so we have FM3 partner Richard Bernard here to provide those details to us tonight.
Hey, Richard.
Yes, and Mr. Mayor, I just want to say while we're transitioning, just a correction, the fiscal subcommittee was only 2 members. It was Councilmember Bradley and Councilmember Lewis, not Mayor Pro Tem Peristam. Sorry.
Good. No, it's good. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, staff. Thank you for inviting me to present the results of your resident survey. Next slide. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the methodology for the survey. We conducted the survey between February 4th and the 12th of this year. It was a dual mode survey, which means a random portion of the respondents took the survey on the phone and a random portion online. In fact, 46% of the respondents took the survey on the phone and 54% online. We interviewed a random sample of 412 City of Rancho Palos Verdes registered voters who are likely to vote in a November 2026 election based on their past voter history or if they've recently registered to vote. For questions asked of everyone, the margin of error is plus or minus 4.9 because we didn't want to make the survey too onerous on your voters. When we had a very long list of questions, in some cases, a random half heard some and a random half heard others. There, the margin of error is a little larger at 6.9. We contacted your voters by telephone, email, and text. And of course, we offered the survey in English, Chinese, and Korean. And if you're, and 3% took the survey in Chinese and 1% opted to take the survey in Korean. If you're very quick on math and notice something doesn't quite equal 100%, I blame that entirely on rounding. Next slide, please. Before we get into the discussion that was my primary charge, I wanted to present a question we had asked your voters about whether they even perceive there's a need for additional funds to provide the level of city services that residents need and want. 58% said there was at least some need for additional funds, with 25% saying a little or no real need, and 17% said they couldn't offer an opinion, they didn't know enough. Since the charge of my research is to determine the viability of a general purpose measure, or two of them specifically, that were at a 50+1 threshold, having at least a perception by 58% that there is a need, at least some need for additional funds, is a good place to start. However, it's clear there are opportunities for education to inform your voters of the needs that clearly are discussed during various council meetings throughout the year. Next slide, please. Next slide. The first measure that we tested was hypothetical transient occupancy tax measure, and we had your legal counsel review the ballot question for its authenticity, its ability to be legal, if the council opted later on at some point to place the measure on the ballot. So we read the ballot question to them if they were on the phone, or they read it if they were online. It's presented in front of you, and in essence, the test was to see whether there was support or opposition for the adjustment of the current transient occupancy tax, which is at 10%, and adjusted to 13%, which would generate approximately $2.2 million annually at this time. So after we presented it to the respondent, we asked if there were an election today, would you vote yes in favor or no to oppose? Next slide, please. As you could see, the results were 70% said definitely, probably, or they leaned towards voting yes. 23% said definitely, or probably, or lean voting no, and 7%, at least on the initial question, were undecided. Given the fact that the margin of error is plus or minus 4.9%, and the threshold for passage is 50+1, having an initial vote at 70% is very promising for a potential measure. Okay, let's go to the next slide. One more, please. Here are, in the next 3 slides, are a list of items that we tested. And we said, regardless of whether you support the measure or not, how important would it be to include this as a potential use of funds, or to be included as a provision in the measure. The dark blue is extremely important. The mid-color blue is very important, and I've aggregated and ranked the extremely are very important on the right-hand side. It was presented randomly to them, so there was no intended bias effect. The dullest of blues is somewhat important, the orange is not too important, and the sliver of gray are the folks who said they didn't know. As you can see, these are important priorities for your voters. We tested 30 items, of which 4 received 80% or more in the extremely or very important category, 10 in the 70s and 5 in the 60s. So my first comment is, even if you choose not to move forward at some future date with this measure, it tells me that the council and the staff are very much in alignment with the voters in your community, because you have a significant number of items that are highly ranked. And these are the items we tested were understood priorities of the council and of the city itself. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, because I think you value the use of public funds, this list is a very good opportunity to use in budget deliberations as well, independent of a potential measure. So you get many benefits from this particular survey. That being said, coming back to the measure, you could see lead items include maintaining roads and elements related to responding to, preparing for, and preparing and reducing the risk of potential wildfire, which is very prominent in LA County and in areas like yours where you have a lot of open space and natural areas. Additionally, there's concerns about helping prevent property crimes. I was here for the sheriff's report. Good news that things are settling down, but people want it to stay that way. And so that's important in your community, as well as keeping public areas and parks safe and clean. Next slide. And I'm not going to, if it's okay, go through every single item, but this is certainly available for the public and for the council, and I'd be happy to speak on it. And but here are additional items that, as we go down the list, the extremely and very important items start to decline. And if we can go to the next slide, that is the balance of the list. And at the bottom, you'll see many of the items are in large swaths of orange. Those are items that are considered by some to be important, but for the majority of folks, not too important. Next slide. So this was what I just showed was part of a simulation of education. I'm now going to move into the next part of the presentation, which will simulate some educational statements. We gave them a series of educational statements. As you know, the city can't advocate, but they can educate. And we randomized them, and we asked them after each one, tell me if it would make you more inclined to vote yes on the measure, having heard or read this. The dark blue is much more inclined. The bright blue is somewhat more inclined. I've aggregated and ranked the total more inclined to vote yes on the right-hand side. The words in the parentheses are just the themes of the messages, so you don't have to have me read 6 to you because I know everyone's time is valuable. But I did want to point out a couple that struck me as being very, very important and resonated with your community. This is related again to the TOT, and as you know, and is important to communicate to your community, is that the TOT is paid by overnight hotel and motel guests, and in fact, the increase that potentially you'll be proposing, or the one that I was asked to test, increases it at maximum to 13% and keeps it below some of the more local cities such as Santa Monica, Manhattan Beach, Laguna Beach, and LA, which is at 14%. So in fact, you're maintaining the competitive edge of your resorts and hotels in your community, but at the same time, it's providing additional critical funds to provide the city services that residents need and want. Another message related to fire mitigation scored high, and of course, I'd like to end this slide by talking a little bit of accountability. People don't vote for a measure because there's accountability, but they will vote against a measure if there isn't. And so while you know by law there is certain requirements that are that accompany any kind of measure that you may want to consider to place on a ballot for voters to decide whether to support a tax increase or not, there has to be some accountability such as audits, and as well as you provide online your budget and how you spend the money that everyone could see 24/7, 365 days of the year. So there's transparency in that. Next slide. Here's some additional statements that we tested, and if we can go to the next slide, I'd like to show you the impact of simulation. On the left-hand side was that initial vote that I showed you a little bit earlier. That was just hearing ballot title and summary, which was 70% yes, 23% no, 7 undecided. After telling them what the money could be used for and some educational statements to explain what's going on in the city and how it could be helpful, we re-asked that ballot question you saw. Support overall went up 5 points, so a little above the margin of error, 4.9. But probably more importantly, in my view, is that the intensity of support, those people saying definitely yes, moved up from 39 to 53, an increase of 14% beyond the margin of error. And considering that the measure is threshold is 50 plus 1, within the margin of error, it's still there, but total yes is way beyond that. This suggests to me that education is really critical to solidify the level of support to be successful in a measure if the council deems it's appropriate later at some point to place it on the ballot. Next slide, please. The other measure I was asked to test was I'll call a hypothetical golf tax. Currently, the tax is at 10%. Those are the folks who use private golf courses in the city. I was asked to test an increase of 5 percentage points to 15%, which would generate $400,000 annually. So again, we asked that of respondents. Next slide. And you could see the results. We only got a chance to ask it once because of the shortness of the survey, but without any messaging, just just the ballot title and summary, 70% said they would vote yes, 22% no, 8% were undecided, but a very strong 54% at an end of the survey, after we've already talked about another measure, which is unusual, strongly supported by saying definitely yes to that measure. Next slide, and then you can go to the next one, please. Just in conclusion, almost 6 in 10 perceive there's a need for additional funds. However, only 26% said great need, so there's room for education for sure. Asking about the hypothetical transient occupancy tax on the initial vote, 7 in 10 supported that, with a very strong 4 in 10 saying they would definitely vote yes. After education, support goes up to 3/4, 75%, with more than half, slightly more than half, saying they would definitely vote yes. Next slide, please. The impactful statements include explaining that the TOT is paid by overnight hotel motel guests and not by regular folks who live in the city and don't stay at the hotels or the resorts. The measure could fund minimizing risk of fire through the removal of overgrown dry vegetation and other fuels, which is certainly in need during this time period. And the measure has strict accountability. Next slide, please. With respect to the budget priorities, that could be connected both to the measures as well as sort of your general work, maintaining roads, preparing for responding to wildfires and other natural disasters, reducing wildfire risk by managing brush and other fuels, preventing landslides and land movement, helping prevent property crimes, home invasion, break-ins, and vehicle thefts were among the top items prioritized. Next slide. And when we look at the hypothetical golf tax with the one ask, a 7 in 10 overall supported it, with a very healthy 54% saying they would definitely vote yes after we asked the question. At this time, it would be my recommendation that both measures appear to be viable on the November 2026 election if the council chose to move forward at a future date. That's not being asked of you now, but that it's clear to me legally permissible education would be helpful in making sure that voters are educated in what they are considering to potentially be asked to vote on. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Richard. City Council have any questions of Richard or staff? No questions?
I do.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Just 2 questions.
Yes.
One is, what's the volatility 8 months ahead of an election? What can go wrong? I mean, what's your experience of the bandwidth of things changing, the unknown, from your experience?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll just bring out my crystal ball and let you know. Well, let me tell you, no one anticipated COVID. No one anticipated a 40-year cost of living high number. I'm not a foreign policy expert. I hadn't anticipated that there would be either an incursion or a war, however you want to frame it. I didn't expect high gas prices. And I didn't expect, I'm not clear at this point what the impact of potential tariffs will be. So with all that said, I think one should be very vigilant in terms of doing some outreach to the community. And the outreach doesn't only mean talking to them, it means listening to them. And I think that's super important. It was the wisdom of the council that if you chose before, and if you choose to deliberate and before you deliberate, your budget allowed for a potential tracking survey closer to that time period. So if it is of the desire for the council to move forward and have that more modest survey to test where folks are now a little closer to when you have to deliberate, that is viability for you. But I'm sorry I don't have a definitive answer.
Wasn't expecting one, but just wanted to have the opportunity to speak to it. And the second question is the results that we're seeing a reflection of the type of taxes that we're asking about? That you're taxing someone else for the most part, and
sure,
that's just implies human behavior.
Yes, I will say I've done many kinds of taxes over 23 and a half years. I would concur in the sense that people like taxes that are not coming out of their pockets, absolutely, because it's going to benefit them without potentially any downside on their side. But I have seen a number of taxes pass where people were willing to take responsibility and pay some from their pocket. The key is their understanding of why there is a need for additional funds. And so while I think the numbers are high because of some of the activities of Mother Nature in your community that have occurred over the last couple of years, I think that's part of it. I think it's the taxing mechanism that we're asked to test. I think that certainly helps. But I don't know, because we didn't test other measures, as to whether they would also have relatively strong support. So I can speak to those, and I think your hypothesis is very reasonable. So that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other questions? Deliberation?
And Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we have another part of the presentation.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so
Sorry.
if we want to hand it back to our Deputy City Manager, and then we'll wrap
Sorry
the
about
staff
that.
report.
Okay, I will do my best to make it brief. So as Richard alluded, there is an important piece in all of this, which is education. And so what do we do with these results? The city, first and foremost, does not and cannot advocate for any particular outcome associated with these results or any potential ballot measures. But what we can do is provide educational materials to inform the public about the results. And so the city issued an RFP recently for an experienced consultant to provide comprehensive outreach and strategic communications that are transparent, honest, and very clear. City received 5 proposals, and the Lou Edwards Group ranked highest. They have 29 years of experience and have extensive experience working with cities throughout the state. So briefly, their proposed scope of work involves 2 distinct phases, totaling $20,000 in total. The first phase is to provide educational materials on the city's fiscal conditions, operations, strengths, and challenges, and they include a variety of educational materials, and their work would begin and end in March/April. The cost of this first phase is $10,000. If the city decides to move forward with the ballot measures as proposed, the consultant would come back in about June or July to assist the city clerk and staff in preparing proposed and final ballot material components, staff reports, resolutions, and other educational content surrounding the ballot measures. So, however, should staff require continuous or additional services outside of those 2 months, staff may opt into a full scope model for those months for about $67.50 per month. Those services may also include facilitating community meetings and assisting with outreach on various platforms. And so to accommodate the full scope model, the agreement's total not to exceed amount is $60,000, but to reiterate, the initial proposed scope of work is $20,000. So at this time, we request to receive and file the results of the Community Needs Survey and to award an agreement to the Lou Edwards Group for ballot measure outreach and strategic communications not to exceed $60,000.
Okay, now we're at the conclusion. Okay. Thank you, Catherine, appreciate that. Any deliberations from or questions from our city council? Mayor Pro Tem?
Questions or deliberations?
Both.
Okay, thank you.
Since we had a different section.
First, I've been pretty critical on a couple of proposals that we've received over the last year. I just want to make the point that I understand this. The scope of services being proposed here, it's clear, task by task. It's priced, I believe, reasonably, and it's something that I think makes a lot of sense for the city to pursue there. We've been spending a lot of time on what we should do in terms of going out, put something on the ballot or not. And I would hate to not do this last step at this point in time after a lot of effort. So I just want to make that statement and to say that I'm supportive of this motion. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilmember Burley.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to say it was a great job on the survey. I thought it was very enlightening. Being on the subcommittee, I may have had an early view of some of the results. So this was very well done. I think this is the right way that we need to go about things, and this had some really good information that I think will help us make some policy decisions and potentially have some additional revenue sources in the future. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just for layman's terms, for the public, the city council is doing its homework before increasing or trying to increase revenues, and we need revenue streams going in the future. So if we're gonna make these policy decisions, make sure we have the best input possible, and doing these surveys informs our decision. So, going forward, I think it behooves us to look at the results, do the outreach, and then we get closer. I would like to see a tracking survey if possible, because we don't know what the future is going to look like, especially in this day and age. So, but I think this informs our decision making, and we definitely need revenue streams. And I think, based on the cost that we have, the payout on the back end is tremendously high for us. So doing our homework, I think, behooves us. Any comments from my colleagues on the left here? Okay.
Just to say that I think it was really well done. You did a great job with this. Easy to understand.
Okay. With that, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the staff proposal.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Lewis?
Who?
Is that me?
Yes.
Yes, I vote
Sorry,
yes.
Councilmember
I couldn't hear
Ferraro?
you. Yeah.
Yes.
Councilmember Bradley?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristam?
Yes.
Mayor Seo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next
With
item,
that,
please.
With that, we can move to item number 3. Consider adopting the city's 2026 Palos Verdes Peninsula Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. I do not have any requests to speak at this time.
All right. Staff report. Luna, how are you?
Thank you. We have Megan from Black & Vetch who's going to be providing a brief presentation. Megan, you're welcome to unmute yourself.
Hi, Megan.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me into your community this evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Many of you have seen presentations that I've done throughout this process, and this is very similar, but for those that are new to this process, next slide, please. This is the very first time that all 4 peninsula cities and the 2 geological hazard abatement districts have worked together to develop a hazard mitigation plan to benefit the entire community. And this really shows a unified effort and how much everyone has collaborated together. Next slide, please. This has been a very intense planning process. It's been through a series of 8 phases, and this started, as you'll see in the next slide, this started approximately a year ago with information gathering, risk assessment, working through a lot of public outreach, and determining hazard impacts that could potentially affect the cities and the districts, and then developing mitigation actions to mitigate those potential hazard impacts. Next slide, please. And here you can see where we are now. We're here at the very end of the planning process. This is a super high level overview of what has taken place throughout. And as I mentioned, it's been about a year-long process as of this point. This has been an expedited process as well. Many times through multi-jurisdictional planning efforts, it can be well over a year and a half, sometimes even 2 years. But because of grant eligibility, we were tasked with doing an expedited planning process, and everybody was fully on board and very compliant with all of our requests to make sure this was a seamless and expedited planning process. Next slide, please. There are 5 mitigation goals that were developed early on through a committee-based process to really target what the purpose of this plan was going to be. And overall, it really did focus on reducing risk, not just to property, but also to people, to the services that are provided to people in the community, to the environment, to the built environment as well as the natural environment. and looking at how to inform the public so that people would have the information and resources to be able to take personal action for some of the mitigation strategies that they could do personally to really help strengthen the community. Also working at collaborating together. This has been such a refreshing opportunity for our team as consultants to work with such a collaborative group. We have worked with many multi-jurisdictional planning efforts throughout the country, but especially in California. And this is by far the most collaborative, unified effort. Everybody truly gets along, and it's been such a pleasure to work with everyone. It's resulted in a very successful planning effort. And then those partnerships will just be even more greatly strengthened because of this unified multi-jurisdictional plan. And you can read more about these goals as you want to a little later, and how they line out with mitigation strategies. Next slide, please. One of the requirements by FEMA, and these plans are mandated by FEMA to open up funding eligibility through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. So one of the requirements is that the community be engaged from the start through the end of the process. And this was done through multiple different strategies. One of these strategies was a planning committee approach. These meetings were open to the public. They were publicly facing. There are 18 members of the planning committee and 3 alternates for a total of 21 participants in this planning committee process. And you can see some of the different categories of representation on that committee that met throughout the planning process, making and validating different decisions. There were really excellent in-person public engagement opportunities that were primarily led by Rancho Palos Verdes, along with the support from the other peninsula cities. I had the pleasure of coming for the Prepared Peninsula Expo in October and witnessed firsthand just how engaged the community was in being informed and preparing for the potential of hazard impacts. There was also a public survey. It's interesting to hear the prior presentation on the survey and how engaged community members were in that, as well as in the survey that was deployed for this planning effort, 431 participants. And when you see the population of the peninsula, you might not think that that's very many respondents, but for this type of hazard mitigation awareness survey, it is a very successful representation. Typically for a population the size of the peninsula, it's amazing if 100 people take the survey. And so here you have well over 400. A lot of this, and you can see that yellow line of participants from Rancho Palos Verdes, a lot of this resulted from push-outs from RPV TV. They have been an incredible partner in public outreach of this planning effort and getting people aware and involved. Next slide, please. The hazard risk ranking comes from a combination of different factors that were assessed throughout the planning effort. You can see the high, medium, and low categories. Unfortunately, none of the hazards that were assessed fell into the low bracket. They're all in the medium and high. And the way these hazards were analyzed to come up with this risk ranking is based on a variety of factors that were weighted. First of all, the probability. How likely is this hazard to happen each year? Some of these hazards do happen, hazard events happen every year. Some are much less frequent. So first of all, looking at the probability of a hazard event. And then also what kind of impacts to people, to property, to the services in the community, to the natural and built environment. Also the spatial extent, how wide of an area across the peninsula is it? Is it across the entire city, the entire peninsula, only a small portion? So that spatial extent was also a factor in determining risk ranking. And warning time. Some hazards have a much longer period of anticipation. For example, drought. There's a lot of warning time before an area is declared. with a drought disaster, but something like an earthquake, there's not nearly as much warning time. So this is also factored into how ready the community can be to escape in an evacuation situation. So that also factors into risk ranking, just looking at the warning time of a hazard event. And then also the last factor is, what are the potential impacts from climate change, increase or decrease in frequency or severity of the hazard due to climate implications? So all of those factors, I know it's a lot to think about, but they're all considered in this risk ranking. And just because a hazard is ranked high or medium does not mean that it's more or less eligible for mitigation grant funding. This is simply a way to help public perception and also for each community to prioritize mitigation actions by what type of ranking they have. And next slide, please. So some of these examples of mitigation strategy for the big hazards, earthquake. Now, this is just a sample of, there are well over 100 mitigation actions that were developed for the city of Rancho Palos Verdes by stakeholders and city members, different departments in the city that are actionable strategies. And this is one that we're listing here as the example under earthquake mitigation, but it really does cross a multitude of different types of hazards. And this is talking about reducing congestion and strengthening egress capacity across the city. And next slide, please. Landslide, of course, goes without saying. There are a lot of really comprehensive landslide mitigation strategies written into this mitigation plan. And this is one of those examples of the landslide buyout program that you all are very familiar with. And next slide, please. Wildfire. Wildfire is one of those topics that was of most interest to community members in public outreach, not just with the Wildfire Home Hardening Expo, but also at the Prepared Peninsula Expo and at the PPSC meeting as well that we presented at in February. So wildfire mitigation is very much in the forefront of people's minds in Southern California and across the nation, but Southern California especially. And this is one of those examples of a mitigation action where the city is looking at the potential of helping to promote personal resilience in mitigation for residents. Next slide, please. One of the other things that is going on in tandem with this multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan is the safety element update to the city's general plan. There is a really phenomenal benefit of integrating the hazard mitigation plan into the safety element. It is not a requirement, but there is a financial incentive that the state of California has made available to cities and counties. When a current hazard mitigation plan is integrated into the safety element of the general plan, then the local funding match that is typically 25% to the federal share of 75% can be completely offset by state programs when the city applies for this additional benefit. So essentially that local match for mitigation funding is covered when the hazard mitigation plan is integrated into the safety element. So this is something that is being done at a later date, but it is something that the city has been very excited about having the opportunity to do. And next slide, please. So as far as next steps, there is, due to the expedited nature of this planning process, there is a provision by FEMA where a jurisdiction can adopt the hazard mitigation plan before it's reviewed by the state and approved by FEMA. This can significantly expedite that final approval period because then there isn't that lag time between the FEMA approval and city council adoptions and getting all of the jurisdictions on board with those adoptions. So what is being asked of each jurisdiction, each city, and each district board to adopt the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. And then it is going to go to CalOES, California Office of Emergency Services, for their initial review, which they have 45 days to do their review, and they have been very timely with those reviews. They're usually like 43, 44 days. So right at the top of the threshold, but these reviews have been coming back within that 45-day window. So the schedule that's been established by the planning process is that the plan will be submitted to CalOES in the first week in April. So they'll have 45 days. CalOES always comes back with some comments. These do not mean that the plan was rejected. There are just different reviewers, different perspectives. Many of the comments have nothing to do with requirements. They're more of preferences of the reviewer. So we're very accustomed to navigating this process, working with CalOES and making those revisions in a quick way, and then turning it back around. So CalOES will be able to then submit it to FEMA for FEMA review. FEMA also has 45 days. Those reviews have been 45, 50 days. They do sometimes take a little bit longer. With the government shutdown, we cannot guarantee that they're going to be reviewing plans in a quick fashion, but we are hoping that during this window where CalOES is reviewing the plan, that FEMA will get back up and running and be ready to start reviewing plans. So once FEMA approves the plan, then they will issue a final letter of approval because the cities and districts will have already adopted the plan. So that's where that expedited process comes to play. So there is no lag time after FEMA approves it for all of the jurisdictions to adopt. It's already been adopted, done, and then the plan can be, the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan can be adopted by reference into the safety element of the general plan. And funding eligibility is completely achieved at that point. So that is it for the overview of the hazard mitigation plan process, some of the details about it, but Luna has been very involved. I know she is available to answer questions, and I certainly can as well.
Thank you so much, Megan. So city staff's recommendation is to adopt the resolution adopting the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan and authorize staff to submit the plan to CalOES and FEMA for approval.
Got it. Thank you very much, Luna. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it. Are there any questions from City Council? None? So at this point, if there are no questions, any comments, deliberation? No? If not, then ask for a motion at this point.
I'll move the two recommendations in the staff
Can I get a second, please?
report.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradley,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristam,
Yes.
Mayor Seo.
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, we can move to item number 4. Consider updates on the Greater Portuguese Bend Ancient Altamira Landslide Complex. I
Recording in progress.
do not have any requests to speak at this time unless you have questions of Gordon Leon.
All right. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members.
Hey, Ramsey.
Okay. I have with me this evening Mike Phipps via Zoom, city geologist with Cotton Shires, and Bill McCormick, project geologist with Geologic, available to assist with answering questions, but I'll be delivering the presentation today, and I will try to get to the bottom line here very quickly. Dewatering well summary. We had 3 wells last time I spoke that were sheared. Those have been repaired, re-drilled, but we have another well that's been sheared, and we're working with the geologist on a re-drilling plan. but our pumping rates are back up with those
Recording in
wells,
progress.
operating again. We're getting close to the 500 million gallon mark, and we'll continue to track that. We are continuing to see correlation between pressures and redrilling rates. What we see most on these charts is that when wells go down for maintenance or for redrilling, especially if it's multiple wells, we see a reaction where the pressures go back up. For KCLAD, they are continuing to operate steadily with 3 wells. Their pumping rates remain steady, and more to come on the movement rates for KCLAD. For ACLAD, they've had a well shear. They have 13 currently operating. Their pumping rates are also relatively steady over the past couple of months. Again, we continue to see correlation with the reduction of pressures and the pumping rates for ACLAD. The greatest reduction in movement, the greatest benefit continues to be in the Abalone Cove slide over the past roughly year or so, which is where new wells were installed during that time frame. To get to the bottom line, the movement trends. We reported increases in November, December, and January, cumulatively on the order of 20 to 25%, depending on the slide. We also said that last year we saw this pattern during the rainy season, and as we came out of the rainy season, we saw a reduction in the rate of movement and then a continued reduction back below the original starting point from which it increased during the rainy season. And we are beginning to see that. February, we just got the data for February over the weekend. We have a 4 or 5% reduction in the rate of movement. And the geologists believe that that will continue dependent on whether we have any strong storm systems, which we did experience a couple of those during this rainy season. So the expectation from the geologists is that the pattern continues, repeats from last year, and we continue to go below the starting point of the rainy season this year. We have a new visualization, a new version to visualize the rates of movement. And thanks to Megan and the team, the colors I think are much more intuitive. So I'll go through it very quickly, but red is bad and yellow is better. So we see going into the rainy season, the darker yellow, the lighter the yellow, the lighter the color, the better. We see that start to increase a little bit, and now it's starting to come back down. And so that's the pattern that we're looking for as a continuing trend in the coming months. Apologize, I'm trying to get back to the slideshow here. I think there's a delayed reaction on the screen, okay. In Klondike Canyon, there continues to be no measurable movement. City Council during the last meeting on the landslide emergency asked for an analysis of vertical movement. And we've performed that analysis. The precision of the instruments is 0.1 feet. So when we take a vertical movement measurement, if it exceeds the 0.1 foot threshold, then that is considered to be measurable movement. But the other thing we look at is the direction of movement. For horizontal, we look at the direction of movement. We do the same for the vertical. If a point is moving more than the precision, but it's bouncing around or moving in a circle, then that's not movement. That's considered noise or precision impacts. But if it's moving in the same direction, particularly the direction the landslide is known to be moving in sequentially, then that's considered movement. And what we find for the Klondike Canyon slide for vertical movement is that the movement is all within that 0.1 band, as you can see on the screen, and it also does go up and down, consistent with the pattern showing that there's no movement. In summary, the peak high in July 2024 was a rate of movement of, depending on the area, tens of times the pre-slide reactivation rate. We've continued to trend down. In November 2025, we saw that pick up associated with the rainy season, and we're going back in that same direction, but this shows you the relative rates. We're still in that 8 times for the Portuguese Bend and approximately 15 times for the Abalone Cove landslide. And the rates are still in the 1.5 to 2 range inches per week. With that, I'll pause for questions before the financial update from our finance director.
Any questions from City Council? Oh, okay. Let's continue forward.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'll provide an update on the financial for the landslide. Okay, starting with the overall cost for the Portuguese Bend landslide from October 2022 to June 2026. This is the same number as the last report in February. So overall, the budget is at $64.4 million. Year to date, since I reported last in February, we're at $57.3 million. And approximately $44.9 million, or 70% of these funds, are funded from city funds. Next slide is now focusing on fiscal year 25-26, which is the current year. Starting with the revenues since February, we recorded approximately $1 million on the revenue side, mainly from transfers from general fund, and also some interest earnings and special revenue funds. On the expenditure side, we're approximately at 58%. We spent approximately $10.7 million. The change since the February report is $400,000. Next slide is a breakdown for each category. So starting with the orange bar, this is the total that we paid for fiscal year 25-26, approximately $6.1 million, or 34% of invoices paid. We also have a committed amount of $4.6 million, or 26% for the blue bar. And on the green bars, there are the available amount of $7.1 million, or approximately 40%. The main change from all categories are from the emergency stabilization, which is CIP funded, and that increased by approximately $400,000, or 4% since the last report. Next slide is an update on fund balance for fiscal year 25-26 with the assumptions of we spend all $18 million in CIP fund. The estimated year-end fund balance is $8.3 million, and that's net of the $5 million reserves in the CIP. Moving on to grants, one of the items tonight that we're asking City Council approval is to approve an appropriation on the revenue side for the BRIC grant for approximately $2.3 million. This is the obligated amount for the grant. And on March 2, to date, we received $222,000. So those funds were originally funded by the CIP, and if the City Council approves the appropriation tonight, these funds would then reimburse the CIP fund. The second item that we're requesting for your approval tonight is a matching city funds for an HMGP grant that the Public Works submitted for application. This grant is approximately $48.7 million, and the matching city funds required is approximately $12.2 million. Based on our plans, these funds would be required, if approved, if the application gets approved, it would be for fiscal year 27-28 for approximately $5.3 million, and 28-29 for $6.8 million. The next slide here is the same as our February report, just a year-to-date so far for the application that we applied for 38.4 million. We received 447,000, and we were denied of the 37.8 million application. And in the final slide, I'll provide an update on K-CLAD and A-CLAD loan updates. Just reporting on the changes for A-CLAD since our last report, they spent $12,000 from the loan, which is approximately 1% more. This loan has now a balance of $11,000 for A-CLAD. Majority of the expenditures were used for well drilling and the pumps project, and 22% for maintenance service and parts. For the K-CLAD loan, the update since February, they spent $24,000, which is another 2%. Of the 1.9 million loan, they still have a balance of $755,000. So for both districts, the first payment is also due this December 2026. And that concludes the financial report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions from staff? Councilmember Bradley.
Thank you very much. Vina, would you go back to the where did the money go chart? Yeah, this one. I'm confused. The power, so that was the permanent power to for the fourth where we haven't spent anything. That is for the laying new lines to actually permanently energize. But SoCal Edison has not let us do that. Is that true?
I can speak to that. It's not that, it's the process we're going through to secure a company that is willing to do this particular specialized type of design work. We've put out multiple RFPs. We are working with industry to refine this into something that proposers will be interested in.
So this would be doing the design that then SoCal Edison would review, and then we would implement it?
Yes, we've actually already been talking with SoCal Edison, and so for their part, where we connect to the existing infrastructure, we've already started coordination. We have concepts of how to do that. Because this is grant funded, we're going through a particular procurement process. We need to get environmental clearance. Those are the steps that we're still working through.
Okay, thank you, Ramsey. And then on this also, the Abalone sewer repairs, we've only spent $500,000 so far this year on Abalone Cove sewer repairs. I thought we were way more into it than that.
In reality, we have done work that equates a larger number, and we are expecting the invoices. There's usually a lag between when the work is done and when we get the invoices. So it is a larger number. We are tracking better than expending the full amount, but it is a much larger number than what is currently shown.
Okay, so we probably have more than 200,000 committed on our on-call emergency sewer repair. I was thinking that we were closer to probably about half to 1.7 million.
Closer to half, okay. Not quite to 1.7. And we have a major repair that we are beginning to engage now.
Yeah, okay. And then, I'm sorry.
If I could just add one more. The Abco sewer repairs tend to come in larger chunks.
Right.
As opposed to the PV Drive South, which is more consistent over time.
Yeah, I mean, when Abilene Cove sewer breaks, it has a tendency to break big and
the excavations are much deeper. It's much more involved work, can become more dramatic.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that the rest of the council understood, because those numbers look like they could be much rosier than I think we're going to end up for our budgeting. I think we're going to be much closer to what we budgeted. Go forward two more, Vina. No, this one, I'm sorry. So we have not budgeted the additional 12.2 million of matching. So if we were to go forward over the next 2 fiscal years with contributing in addition to all of the O&M and things that we've done this year that was just shown on the last chart, and we contributed an additional 12.2 million into PV Drive South stabilization, where would that put us for our CIP. I mean, from what I'm looking at, that would put us almost at zero for our CIP if we contributed another 12.2 in addition to all the O&M.
Right, Councilmember, if the city council were to approve and we were this allocation and the application is approved, this would have to come from general fund.
So what things would we have to, what we would be constrained from doing if we contributed roughly a quarter to a third of our general fund to fund, or not, that wouldn't be in 1 year. So I guess it's about 15% of our general fund for each of those years.
So from my understanding, the 12.1 million could be a combination of what's already allotted for CIP in the future. But if the city council were to decide and transfer from general fund, this would come from unallocated.
Unallocated, but that would be something we would have to look at, constraining other city services.
Correct. That is, because the 12 million would be a bigger drop to your finance, to your general fund.
I understand the share of grants. I am just concerned that what you showed earlier, we have contributed into Palos Verdes Drive South stabilization, over $60 million over the last 3.5 years, well beyond our means to continue to spend at those levels. An additional 12.2 million. I'm just not sure that even with the promise of near $50 million of grant money, that we continue to be able to do that and spend it on O&M to maintain the infrastructure that we've already put in.
Correct. And from my understanding, and Director Awad could add to, this grant is also have some potential where we could apply for the match. At this point, because we're in the application process, we would still have to go through that process if we were to use, I believe we can apply for outside funds.
The requirement to submit the grant is a non-federal match, and so we can seek any non-federal sources, whether that's state, county, or other regional sources.
And our ability so far to get any state grant for PV Drive South has been absolutely zero. I'm not sure that I would ever expect, or I would expect, I don't think we will be successful in dealing with Cal OES to help us. They have left us, my opinion, abandoned for the last 5 years. So the fact that we're going to get any funds from the state, I think, is unlikely. And getting anything close to $12.2 million from the county is highly unlikely as well. I don't think we've been able to, other than our supervisor's discretionary fund, be able to get any real funds to help us on that. So I'm not sure where we would get county or state funds. I just haven't seen any willingness to help us.
Yes, and Councilmember, your points you're making right now are real issues that we need to be prepared for in the future. And I think some of the agenda items tonight that you've covered there may be some opportunities. For example, the last agenda item on the hazard mitigation plan, if we update our public safety or our safety element in the general plan to reflect the hazard mitigation plan, we may be able to go in front of Cal OES and say, okay, we've done these things, would we be eligible for grant funding? But we can't rely on them, as we know from our experience over the last couple of years. And so we need to be very thoughtful and mindful of how we budget in the years to come. And I think the other item that was on tonight's agenda about the community survey and possible, as we're doing our homework on possible tax measures, we're trying to prepare ourselves for the hits that we're receive in the years to come if these grants get awarded and we have to come up with the matching portion?
I'm continue to be very concerned that we are going down a path of fiscal insolvency. We are already moving our cut line for the CIP up and not being able to do basic infrastructure projects. We have numerous complaints for city road repairs that we have deferred over the years because of prioritizing Palos Verdes Drive South stabilization. And we have another absolute lurking time bomb that we're sitting on top of, which is our storm drains that have been put in the 50s and 60s that are deteriorating. And we have a potential, another huge bill there for maintaining that infrastructure. We've had several sinkholes on major thoroughfares in the recent years. Thank goodness nobody has ever been hurt, but a couple of them could have gone very badly, certainly on Hawthorne, when we had a major sinkhole develop. So I think we need to be very careful on how we prioritize our budgets in the future. Some of these things are very tempting. I just don't know where we come up with another $12.2 million on top of what we're already doing. We really need external help. We're continuing to spend well beyond the city's ability to fund. I mean, we're a city of roughly a $40 million annual budget, and we're spending way beyond that to be able to take care of a major infrastructure problem, which is Palos Verdes Drive South, which I have completely supported. But we're quickly coming to the end of the city's ability to continue to fund at those levels without having to severely impact other city services across the community. Maybe that wasn't a question at that point.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to follow up on that because I had a question, and I'm going to start with, I share Councilmember Bradley's heartburn on this. And I have a question that why at this point in time are we being asked for this allocation to move from 10 million to 12 million when the fiscal years that this may occur in, if we're so fortunate enough to get awarded this grant money that we have to match, is in 27, 28, and 28, 29.
It's because it's a requirement for the grant application. In order to compete for the grant money to fund the construction, we're required to commit to the match. In other words, if we do not commit to the match, the grant application cannot move forward. It stops.
So it matters on which bucket we're keeping our money? Is that really what we're saying there? Bucket A is general funds or CIP still? And if we say it's going to be in bucket B, it's committed to doing this, even though we may or may never get the grant, we have to show that we are going to commit to it.
We're required to commit the matching funds.
Okay.
Deadline.
Yeah,
It's a grant requirement. If the city doesn't.
What date is the deadline?
It is this meeting.
Pardon me?
The grant deadline is this meeting. We need to respond tomorrow.
How long have we known about this?
So the grant was already accepted, or the council already authorized us to submit the grant. I believe it was a few months ago. It's going through their review at Cal OES. They've come back with RFIs, which are requests for information. And one of them was looking at the cost benefit analysis. And so the cost of the grant request has increased from 40 million to 48 million. And so the matching portion has increased by about 2 million. The council already authorized a 10 million matching portion of it. We're asking for another 2 million because the cost of the grant is going up. We're asking for 48 million now.
And that's new information, the additional $8 million in what the cost of the project is, and that's why we're being asked for another quarter.
The new information is approximately an increase of $2 million, because the council already authorized the 10 million matching portion. Okay.
And we learned that about 1 or 2 days before the staff report was published.
Okay, so we're just finding this out.
The RFIs are coming in very quickly, and we have a few days to respond to them.
Yeah, the deadlines on the RFIs are very nearly impossible to meet, and so we don't get much lead time.
Sorry, go ahead.
One more, Mayor, thank you. When is the decision, we know when the deadline is. When's the decision made? Is there a hard date that decision's made on these type of projects?
It's not clear. It could take weeks, it could take months.
I mean, we applied for the BRIC grant in 2023.
Okay.
So, and we're still going through the process. We were selected, which is great. I mean, it's almost unheard of for a city to be selected for a BRIC grant. I think we were one of just a few in the state of California. This is a national competitive grant. So we were selected, but we are still going through the review process.
On the original?
Yeah.
Well, that's before the BRIC grant was canceled, other than Phase A, which I believe the 2.1 is the Phase A of the BRIC grant, which didn't get canceled because it was already obligated and encumbered when the say that 5 times fast, when the BRIC grant program was canceled by FEMA. So right now, the 2.1 is the only portion of the BRIC grant that we currently have a true line on getting funded from the federal government, unless something changes within FEMA.
In summary, we have a hard date that we have to make this commitment, and the commitment to us is completely open-ended.
Correct. But again, you're making the commitment, but the grant hasn't been awarded to us. So this $12 million, you may not spend if they end up determining that we're not eligible for this grant. They can cancel this grant and tell us we're not eligible anymore. If something doesn't click with them, if the cost benefit doesn't match, that this grant could be pulled from us. But at this point, we're saying, in order for us to continue to proceed, and Cal OES is reviewing the information so they can submit it on behalf of the state of California to FEMA, we're asking you to make these decisions this evening that we were just notified days ago.
Is the HMGP a FEMA grant program?
Yes, hazard mitigation grant and BRIC are both FEMA grants.
But to be clear, it's not that if we decline to commit the 2.154 tonight, the 10 is still on the table, which means 40 is still on the table on the grant, right? We don't cancel ourselves out of the whole grant. What's being proposed here is that we increase our commitment in the hopes that we get a yes and that we get 4 times that money some year in the future.
No, we requested an extra 8.
Not necessarily. There was a question, and Ramsey can speak to it, about the amount we were asking for. We had to update the cost-benefit analysis, and so they know that the cost to do this project is at a higher dollar amount. They're watching all these steps that we're doing, and if we're coming in under, they're going to say, well, the benefit's not going to result because you're not going to be able to do everything that you need to do. So they may just pull the whole project.
So the recalculation ended up being 48 million from the original. So, yeah.
We went through an extensive, I mean, Ramsey.
Yeah, and the challenge is that FEMA doesn't allow these contingencies in the original estimate. So as you develop the project further and as you re-estimate it, now we're at the 60%, this was the result.
Okay, so
what is the, I hate to ask this question, but what is the probability that Cal OES will forward this to FEMA with a favorable recommendation? Since Cal OES has blocked every effort that the city of Rancho Palos Verdes has tried to do in getting grant applications through the federal government?
That's a very difficult question to answer. What I would say is that during the BRIC grant application, I thought there was a negligible chance that it would occur, and it did.
But at this point, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Cal OES strongly recommended against us even applying for the BRIC grant and actually tried to dissuade us from even applying for it. Once again, Cal OES has been, shall we say, not a friend.
But ultimately, they did submit our application for the BRIC grant back in 2023 to FEMA. So
I think they thought because it was futile on our part, so why not?
But there was a lot of work put into that grant application.
Oh,
yeah.
No,
So-
I commend the city for everything that staff has done to try to get money to do this. I'm totally on, I am just expressing my frustration with Cal OES and the process and where we are financially. We've been at this for 5 years trying to find fiscal ways to stem the movement and maintain Palos Verdes Drive South. And to date, we have had negligible help from any agency outside of the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. And we have retarded city services for other things within the city. And this is a big number to continue to try to do that. I do understand that if we do contribute the 12.2, the upside is we would have approximately 50% of what we've laid out of the total landslide mitigation project, which was round numbers, $150 million to do a series of major capital improvement or capital programs to be able to retard the landslide. I assume all 60 million would go into various phases of the multi-phase project that we've been laid out for hydroaugers, deep dewatering wells, permanent lining of the watershed spillways to be able to convey the water out of the landslide area prior to it soaking into the aquifer and the water table.
That's correct.
As frustrating as Sacramento's.
Do you guys have questions? I just want to make sure. Questions? No. Is it a comment or a question?
Yeah, it's a question.
It's a question, okay.
As frustrating as Sacramento's been as regards to this matter right here, right now, this extra $2 million that we would be appropriating tonight is really not going to be spent for a couple of years.
In the best case scenario, it would be at least 1 year and probably longer.
Which means that if Cal OES did not forward our application, we could just unencumber those funds easily.
Yes.
What is the projected, and I realize this can't be thought with certainty, say Cal OES advances our application, goes to FEMA. Now we're committed to this project and we're spending, and then later FEMA rejects us. That's the window where we're at risk of all the financial concerns that Mayor Bradley just raised. So how big is that window, do we think?
He's the mayor.
Councilmember Bradley.
You're a former mayor, you can still be called mayor. The president is always president, right? Your mayor is always a mayor.
Councilmember Lewis, we actually can't do work and spend money on components of the project that are in the grant request. If we do, those components become ineligible for funding.
And that's what bit us on the BRIC grant when we had an emergency and we had to stabilize the road on an emergency basis. Unfortunately, those were things that were in the original BRIC grant. Therefore, it reduced our BRIC grant because, you know, because we had an emergency and we had to spend it to fix it, it was no longer something that was eligible by FEMA for an emergency, which does sound somewhat anti-circular logic, but hey, it's the federal government. I work with them every day.
It's no credit for good deeds done.
No, in fact, we ended up losing money because we fixed the road.
Yeah. Okay, at this point, Ramsey, so we have the application in. You guys did the recalculation and it became $48 million, and they basically want our skin in the game for 12.1.
That's correct.
Right.
That's the question before the council is, shall we increase the match commitment from 10 million to 12.2 roughly?
Correct.
In order to continue with the grant.
And that is recommendation number 2. And I know Ramsey has a few more slides to go over in his PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, let's continue.
More good news.
And then we'll come back.
I'm done with my slides.
That's it? That's it?
Whole presentation.
Okay.
Okay. And you know, so for the council's benefit, there are several recommendations. So in addition to what we were just discussing, funding of the grant, there's also extending the resolutions, extending the local emergency, and the prohibition of the 60-day prohibition of two-wheel devices on vehicles on Palos Verdes Drive South.
Given
Councilmember
the,
Ferraro.
given the condition of PV Drive South right now, I don't see how we could possibly not prohibit two-wheeled bicycles, tricycles. That's
Unicycles.
unicycles. I think we have to keep that prohibition. Because it's harder even to drive the car along there now, because the road seems to be buckling in the middle of a lane. And so, I mean, it's not good for cars, much less the bicycles and et cetera. So that's my thoughts on that part of it.
Mayor Sal, I'd like to make a motion, if you would.
Sure. Actually, any deliberation
I just have one more
comments?
question for
Mayor Pro Tem.
for Vina. Thank you. For Vina, how do we hold this money? This is an accounting question,
In the bank.
but answer the question.
So, City
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Makes me feel much better. But does it go into physically go into it? Not physically.
The Mayor Pro Tem's mattress?
The mattress, yes. Whose mattress going?
In the
Does it go
closet.
into a different account if we move this? Is there $10 million right now that there's an allocation that if we get this grant, it sits over here? So we lose the utility of that money? Or do we not use that utility of the money unless we get a grant? And how do we balance that from an accounting perspective?
Mayor Pro Tem, if approved tonight, if the commitment is approved, what would we basically do when we come back to you for the 5-year capital program? We would input those numbers to the model, to the 5-year, and basically it would help decide on what the projects will be based on available funds. Because the city's budget is only 1 year, you can't appropriate those funds. We can only commit them, meaning we would put them on a 5-year plan, but not adopt it as a budget because we could only budget for 26, 27.
Okay.
In
But
those
it would
years,
still-
we would just change where the cut line was for the CIP.
That's how you did that.
But you would still have some hard decisions to make because that's 12 million now in your 5-year CIP. You would have to decide what will be funded in the next 5 years, if that was to approve.
It would move our projected cut line for the future up.
Correct.
Though if this grant didn't come out, we would go back down to accommodate the 12.1 or 12.2.
So it would affect our immediate decision-making.
It
in the
does.
next budget workshop.
Yeah.
So
It does.
it would basically move our line up, and we basically have to tighten our belt earlier for a projected or probability being almost zero probability of remediation grants coming down. So that's the mental calculus. Hold on real quick, Councilmember Bradley. Ramsey.
So I want to just make a motion to take what I think are the less controversial items off the table and make a motion to accept staff recommendations on item 1, item 2, item 4, item 5, and item 6, and then have a more.
And 7, there's 7, yeah, to continue it.
There's 7 recommendations.
It's on page 1 of the agenda report.
I was going off that.
Councilmember Brad, before that, I have one question for Ramsey. Ramsey, we already approved the grant package and it's already up there with Cal OES, correct? You guys already submitted, it's just been, because you guys
Yes,
already did the work.
It's been submitted and it's waiting
Okay,
for the match letter.
So if we let go or we don't approve this tonight, then basically the grant that we submitted dies. Is that correct?
Yes.
Exactly.
And item 7, sorry.
Second.
Yeah, let's do roll call on those items, please.
So it's all of the staff recommendations except for item number 3?
Item number 3, correct. And we will have more discussion item 3. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying we just take the easy stuff off the table. Or easier, nothing's easy.
Councilmember
Why do we
Brett.
want to exclude number
We're
3?
just gonna,
We're going to have that as a separate motion.
yeah, we'll just do it as a separate motion, we just discuss a little bit further. Go ahead, do roll call, please.
Councilmember Bradley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristem,
Yes.
Mayor Seo.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Going back to let's do deliberation. Any other questions of Ramsey and staff? At the deliberations?
I
Councilmember
have a
Lewis.
comment about the two-wheel vehicles, which can either be a future agenda item or it can be now, because we're talking about that topic now. I'll be brief, but.
Let's talk about number 3. If you want to add it on future agenda items, we can do that.
Okay, fine.
Please, just get through. I just want to be respectful of people's time.
What were we talking about? Two-wheel.
Item number 3, let's just get focused so we can get through this. Yes, comment.
So I have a question of staff for item number 3. So in the grant program, we have other potential funding streams that might, I mean, the refund program, I'm drawing a blank on. The one that FEMA denied that we've reclaimed.
The disaster aid recovery?
Disaster aid. So if we get the disaster aid, we get the original BRIC grant reinstated, and we get potentially other funds that do not require a match by the city. Can we withdraw from this grant in the future? Or once we put it in, we are obligated to continue to hold the 12.2 million basically below the line?
I believe we may decline the grant or withdraw at any time before we receive the funds. In my conversations with grant agencies, I have heard of other jurisdictions doing that.
Okay, so it doesn't obligate us, so, okay. So if we were able to find other funds, this could be, we could say, oh, then we're gonna take the 12 million to fund our own projects, and we don't need the extra 48.7.
I believe that's the case, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I think there's a follow-up question there. So we can use, if we get federal money somewhere, we can use that federal money as a matching grant for this application as well?
No. So I think what Councilmember Bradley was saying is if we end up our appeal of the denial of our disaster aid recovery, if it gets overturned and we end up receiving the $37.8 million, that money is a reimbursement money that would go back into our coffers. And what the council member was saying is that then we may not need the $48 million BRIC grant, so we can potentially withdraw from that.
Because we have about an 18.5 million left on the original BRIC grant that we haven't got that was actually approved. The 37.8 million of the disaster refund, that gets us, to about $55 million, rough numbers. And then if there are other potential avenues, we may not need to reserve 12.2 million for this grant. I just wanted, could we get out of it?
We could. Jurisdictions have canceled, and that's why, like in the voluntary buyout program, which is a hazard mitigation grant, we were able to get extra money because somehow a jurisdiction didn't accept the money or didn't move forward. And so that fund.
Because there was a cost share, okay.
Right, and so for one reason or another, sometimes cities pull out, and that's when funds become available, which is why we were able to get an extra $10 million for the voluntary buyout program.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm still gonna follow up on this. So the difference is, if we would get that, not that we don't have a need, but we wouldn't have the need that we would have if we did get it. But at the same time, if we got it, we couldn't apply it from those funds to support this $12 million. We couldn't move that over and say, we got that reimbursement, now we want to applies that, because it's money to us, is that a constraint?
It's my understanding it would be reimbursement money, so that money would go, it's not tied to a grant.
Right.
It's just we're reimbursing the cost that we incurred responding to the winter storms. So that money would just go right back into whatever accounts, whether it came out of the general fund or the CIP, we'd replenish those funds.
It would reduce the overall cost the city has made of roughly $60 million to date on landslide emergency down to.
Re-ups, it just recharges what our funds.
Okay, I'm saying the same, so we put this money out there, but we get this other part back, so that would, we could sort of do that. It's sort of a reimbursement that we could apply the money, it's just not.
It's your
process.
You're reimbursing those
fund,
funds,
right.
and you could use those
Okay.
funds for that $12 million, which I think I need to also clarify. We keep calling it the BRIC grant. It's actually the hazard mitigation grant. It's not the BRIC. When you go to that slide, there's two sets of information being presented on that slide.
The top is the brick.
The top is the BRIC that we're asking you to approve.
Yes, and we did.
Receiving that money.
We already approved that.
Right, and so the others, the below section is actually for a hazard mitigation grant. And we applied for the hazard mitigation grant when we were told the BRIC grant was being canceled.
Yep.
We didn't want to lose that money so that we can continue with our landslide remediation project. That is when the council authorized us to move forward with a different grant application through hazard mitigation. They're both FEMA grants in order to recover or find funding to do the Portuguese Bend landslide remediation project.
My concern with the new hazard mitigation grant is that it is going to be too little, too late. Like Ramsey said, we probably wouldn't see any of this money for 4 to 5 years, like we did with the BRIC grant. Our need is much more dire and much more immediate than that. I don't know what we will do if we have to wait 4 or 5 years before we start making meaningful additional infrastructure improvements in that area. I mean, that's troubling.
Yeah, so we can take an optimistic view or a pessimistic view at this point, because we're already going down the road of putting the application in, and we tweaked it to 48 million. Now we're standing to do the matching of 12.1. My main concern is the same as Councilman Bradley's as well as Mayor Pro Tem's. The issue for me is once we move it, like Vina said, then it starts affecting what we do with our capital improvement projects. And so those immediate decisions start to come up. But on the flip side is I don't want to abandon the glimmer of hope for getting a grant. And the other, I guess, federal grant streams or monies, that's not a guarantee, is it, right, at this point?
Correct.
I don't know. Councilmember Bradley, do you have any insight in that in regards to,
I have a
like,
question.
if you're consciously optimistic in regards to that?
I think that there are things afoot that we might be able to see some funding in the near term, but it is all speculative. And, you know, I have been working on this for several years now, and the only constant I have had is constant disappointment on this kind of trail of tears. I have had very positive conversations with people that have promised or intimated that we are going to get help. We have just not seen the big check come into our treasury to be able to make meaningful repairs in that area to stabilize Palos Verdes Drive South and to stabilize a major thoroughfare through the city that connects the port to the South Bay. I'm still very, very concerned on the timeline for this. But I would support doing this. I think this is, once again, one of those things is we just have to have the money in our piggy bank, and we can push it forward every year. Since we do year-over-year budgeting, we just have to show that in the future, if we got this grant, we have funds available in the future years that we could allocate to it. In those years, if we do this, and we have to show where we're getting roughly $6 million a year in the 2 years where the grant would come in, those are going to be very tough years to take another $6 million out of the CIP. But $6 million out of the CIP to throw into this is probably good money well spent to go after $24 million for $6 million is where I'm.
48.
Sorry.
Tim?
Thank you. I'm a little newer to the pain and suffering that the council member's been through, but I'm part of that same subcommittee now in the last year, and it's been painful. It's been a painful year. So to stick with this for 5 or 6 years, it's been a roller coaster, I'm sure. It feels like
I wish it was a roller coaster. There
It
haven't
never
been any
goes
ups.
up.
It's always been just going down.
Good point. Good, very well
All
taken.
downhill.
It feels like, so basically there's an additional amount of money to ante into this game to stay in the game. You know, I guess I'm not quite as beat up as Councilman Bradley, and I'm willing to stay as well. I think we have to. Boy, I would love to have some kind of a mechanism, though, and I guess this is really an ask of the city staff, is if there's any indication of things not going our way, we need to know that before we go into our annual budget process, because this is maybe has a limited impact this year, but with the statement of the $6 million in the next 2 years, it will have an impact. Guarantee. So we'll stay. I mean, my opinion is we'll add that ante to this and hopefully, but certainly track progress being made here. And
Yeah, I think we need to pursue every possible grant that we can possibly get for our city. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to trying to get money. The main concern that I keep on reiterating is now it's going to affect our immediate short-term planning and decision-making, but the return that we're going to get, if we do get it, is pretty large. So I'm still in favor of it. It's just doing the mental calculus of what we're going to tighten in the next couple months. That's going to be the brutal part. But I think we need to keep pursuing this and make sure that we put our foot on the gas to try to get some money back. That's where I stand. Councilmember Lewis.
Well, very quickly, I certainly understand everybody's frustration. I think we were all surprised by the suddenness of this, and obviously staff had no ability to warn us of it because it was such a new requirement. But as a practical matter, we either approve this or we abandon our application. We're not going to abandon our application tonight because we're not really going to spend this money until it's approved. So the decision here is pretty clear, but yeah, this is what we've all been talking about for the last year and a half, that the CIP fund has gone down, 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 and sooner or later we have to deal with that. But as far as what we need to do right now, I think we need to go forward this. So I'll just go ahead and make the motion that we should approve item 3.
Well, Councilmember Ferraro,
Unless there's more comments.
Any comments or no?
I would like to make a comment.
Please.
And do we have any idea how soon we might have an answer?
We're really in
Just
uncharted.
hoping and praying. Pardon?
Well, we're in uncharted territory. Things have been very different than anyone has ever been accustomed to, so it's very hard to say.
They still have to reopen for business.
Which is true. Yeah. Okay.
It's a lot of uncertainty, but I think we need to go forward.
There's a motion on the table and
Second.
Councilmember Ferraro second. So roll call, please.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Ferraro,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradley,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristam.
yes.
Mayor Seo.
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, we can move to our final item, number 5. Consider forwarding the 2025 Housing Element Annual Progress Report to the appropriate state agencies. Late correspondence was distributed earlier, and I do not have any requests to speak.
All right, staff report.
Yes, we have Associate Planner Jeffrey Kim will do the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi. Tonight, I will be presenting on the 2025 Housing Element Annual Progress Report. To provide a brief overview, the housing element is a required component for every city that evaluates existing and projected housing needs within its jurisdiction. It identifies constraints to housing development and outlines resources and strategies to address those constraints, including a schedule for implementing the city's housing goals, policies, and programs. Each year, the city must submit an annual progress report to the California Department of Housing and Community Development. This report summarizes annual building activity, tracks progress towards meeting regional housing needs assessment or RHNA allocations, and provides updates on the implementation of housing programs and goals outlined in the housing element. The city is currently in the 6th housing cycle, which covers the years of 2021 to 2029. As part of the report that is sent to the state, staff inputs data within an Excel workbook that the state provides each municipality, which includes various sheets of relevant information to housing development progress. While the Excel workbook contains a long list of tables to be completed, a handful of them have been left blank or uncompleted as the city of Rancho Palos Verdes does not have applicable projects for those data tables. In completing this workbook, the city of Rancho Palos Verdes focuses on tables A, A2, B, D, and the LEAP grant reporting table, which I will overview. Table A and Table A2 contains information on applications for new housing units that were submitted for review, units which were entitled by the Planning Division, units which were issued building permits, and units which were finalized with certificates of occupancy, or units which were completely demolished, all in the 2025 calendar year. As clarified under Table A, the city had received 24 applications for a new housing unit in 2025. Of the 24 applications, 15 of them were approved and entitled by staff. 26 building permits were issued for new housing units. 9 new certificates of occupancies were issued for final projects, and 0 homes were demolished. Of the 15 entitled units, all 15 were new ADUs. The city also issued building permits for a total of 16 ADUs in 2025, some of which were units that were initially entitled in the calendar year of 2024, but were issued their building permits in the calendar year of 2025. Please note that staff had provided late correspondence to City Council for various updates to the final data tables for sheets A and A2. Following the March 10th, 2026 Planning Commission hearing, staff was instructed by the Planning Commission to correct the review method for new single-family residential applications, which were received to be listed as discretionary review as it was previously erroneously listed as ministerial review. Additionally, staff had provided late correspondence to City Council as updates were made, as staff had discovered 3 ADU units which had not been previously included in the original data table. Staff also made updates to verify the methodology for the distribution of ADUs into the different income categories required for RHNA. For background, SCAG prepared a regional accessory dwelling unit affordability analysis to provide local governments in the region with assumptions for ADU affordability to assign ADUs to income categories for the 6th cycle housing element. HCD approved this analysis so we can contribute our ADUs created into the assigned percentages for categories which include extremely low, low, very low, moderate, and above moderate without having to do a local analysis. As shown on this slide, the city of Rancho Palos Verdes is categorized as the LA County 1 area, South Bay cities, per that SCAG analysis, where the allotted percentages for ADUs into these various income categories are 15% for extremely low, 2% for very low, 43% for low, 6% for moderate, and 34% for above moderate. As a result of this updated methodology, the final calculations under 2025 for Table B have been updated. Table B provides a summary of permitted units that were issued a building permit throughout the 6th cycle. As the years go by, this table will continue to be populated, which will provide a clearer picture on how many units are necessary to meet the RHNA requirements. Please note that while 2021 shows the units as blank, it does not mean that the city didn't report our units for that calendar year. It's more so an error of the Excel sheet that didn't auto-populate from the state. The 6-cycle RENA requirements require that the city of RPV plan for and develop 639 units. And to date, the city has completed 91 units to this requirement. Since the city of RPV had adopted our housing element after the 2024 annual reporting date, we did not have this calculation methodology in place until we adopted the updated housing element. Thus, 2024 would have been the first year where we would have been reporting with SCAG methodology. Staff had inadvertently did not incorporate this methodology when reviewing the information last year and this year. However, staff has now corrected the data for the 2025 calendar year and will work with HCD to adjust the classification of ADU units from the calendar years of 2021 to 2024 and have that reflected on future annual update reports. Additionally, Table D provides a summary of housing programs highlighted in the housing element, the efforts the city has taken towards accomplishing these programs, the current status of the implementation of these programs, and informational links to those programs. The last table the city generally reports to HCD will be the LEAP grant reporting table. Typically, this table provides a status of the proposed tasks and awarded amounts reimbursed for projects that rely on LEAP grant funding. However, LEAP grant contracts were closed out by the city on September 30th, 2024, meaning that there are no updates for this 2025 calendar year. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council authorize staff to forward the city's 2025 Housing Element Annual Progress Report on the 6-cycle housing element status and its implementation progress during the 2025 calendar year to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the California Department of Housing and Community Development. This concludes staff's presentation.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from City Council? Mayor Pro Tem.
I do, thank you. First, thank you so much for the late correspondence. It really helped a lot in understanding how these numbers are assembled and the context of where we stand. It did a lot for my understanding. I have one question. Is HCD committed, or have they shown any interest in having a mid-cycle review? Because there was a legislation about a year ago that indicated they were going to do that. Have we experienced anything or indication from them yet, or if we intend to, or they intend to?
No, we have not received any correspondence from HCD demonstrating that they intend to do that with our city.
Okay. Is there, in a more general sense, have cities been reviewed that we're aware of, or is that just something that was noise
I
a
would
year
say
ago?
in the South Bay cities, when we meet every other month, the community development directors, and we'll give updates, and none of the other municipalities have mentioned that they have had that request from HCD.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions from City Council? Okay, can I get a motion?
Make a motion to receive and file, or to authorize sending it to HCD, sorry.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor, who shall the second go to?
Councilmember Ferraro.
It's all right.
Councilmember Bradley?
She doesn't want credit for it.
Ferraro?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Peristam?
Yes.
Mayor Sale?
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, we can move to future agenda items.
And I need to apologize to Councilmember Lewis for cutting him off earlier, so
No, it's
please.
perfectly fine. I accepted this as a valid segment. So I know some of my colleagues just, see this differently than I do about the motorcycles on PV South. And so very quickly, I'll keep it brief. It's been a long night, but a meeting ago, we had a very difficult meeting with a lot of people that were angry about traffic circles on the west side. And the comment I made was, hey, if you're going to bring bad news to people, bring it with a compelling, logical reason and data. So as this is currently written, I'll have difficulty supporting item 5 next time in June. We still are in March. There could be more rain through April. But come June, when we're in summer, I think we have to come up with a little data. I know our friends, the motorcycle riders, will be back here because that's when I said that we would readdress this. So could we prepare, however you choose to segment the road, the affected area, PV South, East, Middle, West, or how, which clad it's in, however you want to describe it. 2022, pre-landslide reactivation rate of movement now, or actually when we come back in June rate of movement. Number. I feel that if the rate of movement is back to levels pre-landslide reactivation and the road was open then, the road should be reopened to motorcycles, as distinct from bicycles, unicycles, e-bikes, and all the other things that are driven by unlicensed drivers. Motorcyclists are licensed by DMV. They're accredited by the state. We should not be taking freedoms away from people without due cause. If we come back and the data says, hey, elevated movement still here, this one's stable, but this is elevated movement still here, then we have a message that's logical, compelling, and fact-based to present to them. So I ask staff, please, when we come back and revisit this item in June, please bring that with you.
All right, thank you very much. Any other future agenda items? Nope. Okay, next item.
Our next item are the City Council oral reports.
Any oral reports? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to attend the Persian American Ruse Spring Festival this past weekend, and it was, I'll tell you, the eating's very good. It's special. I know a couple of you went last year. And recommended going this year, and I just had the opportunity to do that. And I not only ate there, I brought food home. So it's a treat. And so I thank that community for having that event. I know it's a big event, and we're very fortunate to have it in our community. So next year, we're going back. Thank you.
Councilmember
You might be hungry by that point.
I may be.
Well, 4 out of the 5 of us went to the dinner at the hotel for the police, and
50th anniversary
we
of
all
the
wore formal attire, and we looked fabulous.
We did. We looked marvelous.
We
Marvelous.
did. And so, despite the fact that a few other people did not wear formal attire, our city was so well represented. I just had to say that.
Sounds good. Councilmember Lewis.
But you took off your tie,
My bow tie.
and you shouldn't have done that.
I put it back on. I put it back on for
Eventually.
pictures.
Was it a bow tie?
It was a bow tie.
But when you took it off, did you untie it and let it hang to
No, it
prove
was a-
that you
it was a
hand tied
clip-on.
No,
it?
we stuffed it in
It's a
his
clip-on.
pocket,
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
All right.
and we missed you.
Before I adjourn, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Mr. Bill Tillotson. The city of Rancho Palos Verdes mourns the passing and honors the legacy of Bill Tillotson, a member of the greatest generation and a United States Air Force veteran. While serving, Bill was a Curtis LeMay SAC B-36 pilot. Bill was part of a United States Air Force group of retired fighter and bomber pilots that would meet monthly at the Los Angeles Air Force Base, where they have a room filled with Air Force mementos going back to World War I. And we will adjourn this evening's meeting in his honor. He was 94 years old. Thank you,
God
everyone.
bless.
We adjourn at 9:41 p.m.